Hello students, in this video we will try to cover a few more topics which are related to memory. The first topic being characteristics of memory. These are the few general points over which we are going to discuss in length in the coming slides. Uh, the the key characteristics of memory device or memory systems are, as has been mentioned in the slide, it is location. The four important characteristics which we are going to discuss is location, capacity, unit of transfer, access method, and there are few more which are specified as performance, physical type, physical characteristics, and organization. When I say location is a very important characteristics of memory, because on that we will decide the primary memory and the secondary memory. Mostly when we say location, it specifies as to where the memory location is present, whether it is present inside the CPU or outside the CPU. So mostly RAM and ROM are inbuilt within the central processing unit CPU, whereas the secondary memories, that is magnetic tapes, floppy disk, hard disk, all these are external memory. They are specified as external memory. So that is what is we mean by location. Of course, next, capacity. Capacity is the memory size. Okay, memory size. When you of course you know you are using laptops, personal computers, what you can see is the secondary memory. Generally the secondary memory has the memory capacity of say 1 TB, but that is not the memory size of the RAM which you are going to use, which is inbuilt within the CPU. RAM has the maximum capacity of RAM which you can use is 4 GB or 5 GB or 10 GB maximum, which are available in the market. So what you can see is this primary memory has less capacity, whereas the secondary memory has more capacity. When I say capacity, it is the size of the memory. The next the characteristics is unit of transfer. It is the speed with which the data is being transferred from memory to the CPU, that is microprocessor. Okay, now as we know, most of the data, whenever a microprocessor requires a data, it will first access the primary memory, that is RAM and ROM. And if that data is not available there, then it is going to access the secondary memory. Therefore, we should have a primary memory much faster as compared to the secondary memory, because the processing speed becomes much faster. So that is what is all about unit of transfer. And then the fourth most important characteristics of memory is access method. When I say access method, it is basically it will be divided into two: random access and sequential access. When I try to explain you the memory hierarchy, that means classification of memories, I told you I gave you an example of secondary memory as hard disk, floppy disk, and magnetic tapes, out of which floppy disk and hard disk where random access memory. Data can be accessed from random index, so the data retrieval rate will be much faster. Of course, magnetic tapes, it will be a sequential memory. मैंने आपको एक एग्जांपल भी देके बताया था कि अगर आप पहला गाना सुन रहे हैं, मैग्नेटिक टेप मतलब कैसेट्स, एग्जांपल्स ऑफ मैग्नेटिक टेप्स आर कैसेट्स. So if you are listening to the first song and you want to go to the fifth song, you have a forward button in your player which moves the reel in sequence from 1 to 3 to 4 to then to 5. So that is a sequential access memory. Of course, accessing sequential data, the memory speed will be less. And the few more important characteristics of memory is the performance. Of course, the overall performance, speed, capacity, and the flexibility of addressing the memory. Physical type, physical characteristics, and organization, which we will try to understand in detail. Let us now focus to memory organization. Memory unit is an essential component in digital computer because we have to store large amount of information when we process a data. That is what has been mentioned, since it is needed for storing program and data. As a user, we create lot of binary information which has to be stored in the memory. So there are two types of data: the data which is currently being used and the data which is not currently being used but can be retrieved back later. The data which is not currently being used and can be retrieved back later has to be stored in bulk memory, which is categorized as secondary memory. The data which is currently being used, of course, it will be used for processing. Okay, processing. So it will be always in the main memory, which comprises of RAM or ROM. And there is one more type of memory called as cache memory. Cache memory is between that of the main memory and the secondary memory. Whenever a particular program has to be executed, the data for that particular program will be accessed from secondary memory and brought to cache memory. So every time the microprocessor requires the data, it will access the cache memory, which is the fastest memory as compared to main memory and secondary memory. This entire process is carried out to make the execution of the program much faster. Main memory stores the program along with data which are to be executed. As I told you, the data which has to be currently processed has to be stored in main memory. Okay. As I classified the main memory, I classified it as RAM and ROM, and I have told you the user program goes into RAM, whereas the command program, that is command related to your microprocessor or your computer, goes into ROM. The basic programming which is stored in ROM is called as BIOS programming, which specifies as basic input output system program. Okay. So whenever a microprocessor or if you remember in a block diagram of personal computer, the main part of the CPU was ALU, arithmetic logic unit, which we are now specifying it as the microprocessor. So what the microprocessor does? The microprocessor does it performs complex arithmetic and logical operation over the data, and where the data comes from, as a user you will give the data to the primary memory, and from primary memory it goes to arithmetic logic unit, and arithmetic logic unit performs all the arithmetic and logical operation. Of course, if the data is not available in the primary memory, then you will go to the secondary memory. And as I told you in the earlier slide, that in between main memory, that is the primary memory, and the secondary memory, which is also called as auxiliary memory, there is a memory called as cache memory. C-A-C-H-E, we specify, or we pronounce it as cache memory, which is the fastest of all the memory. So whenever a particular program or function has to be executed, the data will be taken out of the secondary memory, put into cache memory, so that whenever microprocessor access the data, it can easily access from the fast memory, that is cache memory, and the process becomes fast. So that is the objective of all these basic types of memories. Now let us try to understand behavior of various memories on the basis of the characteristics they possess, and these can be categorized as follows. Memory types on the basis of their location inside the computer. As I've already mentioned you, the the memory which is present within the CPU is specified as primary memory, and which is specified outside the memory is external memory or secondary memory. So that is how we will now further categorize that particular memory locations. The first one in that category is CPU register. I am talking about the memory location which is inbuilt within the arithmetic logic unit. These high-speed registers in the CPU works as memory for temporary storage of instruction and data. The data can be read from or written into a register within a single clock cycle. I'll give you one example so that you understand what exactly the CPU registers are and where they are going to be used. See, suppose if you are taking a simple calculator and you will you are calculating certain data, say 5 multiplied by 3 plus 2 minus 1. If you are performing this operation, 5 multiplied by 3 plus 2 minus 1. Now when you perform this calculation, of course you are going to get this data. Now when you write the same thing in a computer, you write it as a single line program. Now there will be 3 commands which you are specifying to the computer. 5 multiplied by 3. The second command is whatever be the value of 5 multiplied by 3, that should be 2 should be added to that, and then whatever be the value, 1 should be subtracted from that. 5 multiplied by 3 plus 2 minus 1. So these are the 3 commands which you have given. Now what it does is 5 multiplied by 3. Is that going to give you the result? Of course not. 5 multiplied by 3 is just an intermediate result. It is not the final result. It is the intermediate result. So 5 multiplied by 3 is 15. So that 15 data has to be stored within a processor so that it can go to the second command and execute the second command. And for that there will be some memory location which are specifically called as CPU registers. I hope you have understood. मैंने क्या बोला आपको कि जो इंटरमीडिएट डेटा रहेगा 5 मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 3 ये आखिरी डेटा नहीं है हमारा, तो ये इंटरमीडिएट डेटा है, इसको पहले स्टोर करके रखेंगे, फिर उसमें 2 ऐड करेंगे, फिर से एक इंटरमीडिएट डेटा आएगा, फिर उसमें -1 करेंगे, तब जाके फाइनल डेटा आएगा हमारा. तो ये इंटरमीडिएट जो डेटा है उसको स्टोर करने के लिए जो मेमोरी लोकेशन लगती है वो विद इन ALU रहती है और उसको हम बोलते हैं CPU रजिस्टर. The next one is the main memory, or we can call it as primary memory, which we have already discussed in length, that is RAM and ROM. Main memory size is large and fast accessing external memory stores program and data. This memory is slower compared to CPU register because of main memory has large storage capacity, typically 1 to 2 megabyte. See, I will give you an explanation. When I say main memory size is large and fast, of course इंटरमीडिएट डेटा स्टोर करने के लिए उतना मेमोरी लोकेशन हमको नहीं लगेगा. तो सीपीयू का जो रजिस्टर है, सीपीयू रजिस्टर्स है, उसकी जो कैपेसिटी है वो बहुत कम रहती है क्योंकि इंटरमीडिएट डेटा भी कम रहेंगे. लेकिन रैम और रोम जो हम लोग यूज करेंगे ये तो यूजर प्रोग्राम को स्टोर करने के लिए, यूजर प्रोग्राम को प्रोसेस करने के लिए है. तो ऑफकोर्स उसकी कैपेसिटी, दैट मीन्स प्राइमरी मेमोरी की कैपेसिटी सीपीयू रजिस्टर से ज्यादा ही रहेगी. लेकिन उसको जो एक्सेस करने की स्पीड है that will be less as compared to CPU register, है ना. CPU register it is inbuilt within the ALU, मतलब ALU को एक्सेस करने के लिए उसको टाइम नहीं लगता. लेकिन ALU को वही प्राइमरी मेमोरी को जब एक्सेस करना है तो मैंने आपको बताया कि कोई भी मेमोरी को एक्सेस करने के लिए सबसे पहले एड्रेस फ्लोट करना पड़ता. मेमोरी मैनेजमेंट यूनिट वो एड्रेस रीड करती, उस मेमोरी लोकेशन में जाती, वहां से डेटा लेती है और उसके बाद में वो डेटा विल बी ट्रांसफर्ड टू द ALU, that is microprocessor. So all these things takes time क्योंकि वो बहुत सारा मेमोरी है. तो पहले आइडेंटिफाई करना पड़ेगा कि कौन से लोकेशन में डेटा है, उस लोकेशन में जाओ, वहां से डेटा लो, उसको प्रोसेस करो. इट टेक्स टाइम. सो ऑफ कोर्स स्पीड ऑफ मेन मेमोरी विल बी लेस एज कंपेयर्ड टू द CPU register. The next in the category is secondary memory. This memory has larger in capacity but slower than the main memory. Now you can understand that as we are keep on increasing the memory location, it is more and more difficult to access the data at high speed. So as you increase the memory capacity, the speed of that particular memory will be slow. So the accessing or the retrieval time for the data will be slow. Secondary memory stores system program. Mostly, if you remember, when we have a hard disk, we make different partitions, C colon, D colon, E colon, several type of partition will make. Mostly the operating system, right? See, all these are hardwares, and this hardware operates on certain software which is called as operating system. So basically the operating system has to go into secondary memory, and this operating system has to be stored into secondary memory because it requires bulk memory capacity. It requires bulk memory locations. So by default the programs will be stored into the secondary memory. There is one more very important point which has been mentioned, that secondary memory stores system program, large data files, and like the data are not continually required by the CPU. As I told you, the data which is not required by the CPU at that particular time but can be retrieved back later. For example, if you want to store a movie, you are not going to store a movie in your laptop in RAM. You are going to store the movie in secondary memory. You are going to store it in the hard disk, or it will be the external memory as pen drive, because that data is not continuously used by the microprocessor. But whenever the data is required, you can access from the secondary memory. So that is what that statement means. And one more important point, it says that it also acts as an overflow memory when the capacity of the main memory is exceed. That means when you keep on storing the information, suppose a large program, you have written a large program and you are processing the program. Of course, the processing happens through RAM. RAM has a less capacity as compared to secondary memory. So what happens is when the RAM will exceeds its memory location, by default all the overflowed data, that means all the extra data, can be stored into secondary memory. Information in secondary storage is accessed indirectly via input-output processor that transfers information between main and secondary memory. Okay, so there will be a specific peripheral called as input-output processor that transfers the data from secondary memory to the main memory, that is RAM or ROM. The last one in this type is the cache memory. As I have specified, it is the fastest of all the memory. So whenever a particular task has to be performed, all the data related to that task will be searched in primary memory. If it is not available, it will be searched in secondary memory. Data from secondary memory will be taken into primary memory. Data from primary memory will go into cache memory, and whenever the microprocessor has to access the data, it will access directly from the cache memory, which is the fastest memory, which makes sure that the processing speed of the performance of the computer should be enhanced. The speed of execution should be very fast. That is what has been mentioned. Most computers have another level of IC memory called cache memory. It is placed between CPU register and main memory. A cache memory capacity is less than that of main memory. See, it's very important point. Cache memory is less as compared to the main memory, but it will be much faster as compared to the main memory, but it is faster than that of the main memory because some or all of it can reside on the same IC as that of the CPU. That means the same ALU, the CPU which has the ALU, it will have the CPU register, it will also have the cache memory. cache memories are essential components of high performance computer. That means the objective of using a cache memory is to enhance the performance of the computer. Here we will try to elaborate the characteristics of memory. The first one, which is location, the memory which is inside the processor called as the internal memory. So that is what the basic qualification will be. Classification will be internal memory, and the memory which is external to the processor is known as external memory. So when I talk about processor will be a motherboard. If you have, I don't know whether you have seen it or not, there will be a motherboard. The motherboard will have RAM, it will have slot for ROM, it will be and the cache memory and CPU registers are within the microprocessor. So all this resides within a particular block. So all this will be classified as internal memory, whereas floppy disk, pen drive, hard disk, external hard disk, magnetic tapes, all these will be externally connected via bus to the microprocessor or to the central processing unit. So all those memories will be classified as external memory. Then there was the second called access method. Each memory is a collection of various memory location. Of course, accessing the memory means finding and reaching desired location and then reading information from memory location. This information from location can be accessed. Of course, it can be accessed in random type or sequential type. Okay, so that will be the elaboration part of the accessing method of memory. So there are three basic types of accessing a memory location: random access, sequential access, and direct access. First one is random access. It is the access mode where each memory location has a unique address. Using this unique address, each memory location can be addressed independently in any order in equal amount of time. Generally, main memory are random access memory. As I told you that they are indexed. Okay, for example, you write a practical. Okay, 12th standard में practical notebook लिखा होगा और index में हम लोग उसको specify करते कि ये पेज नंबर दिया हुआ है पहला practical, ये पेज नंबर पे second practical. So whenever you want to access say fourth practical, directly you go to that page, है ना. आप हर पेज पहले practical से पलटाते नहीं जाओगे 48 पेज नंबर पे जाने के लिए. आप क्या करोगे, directly 48 पे जाओगे, you will see the fourth or the fifth practical, whatever data which has to be accessed. So same thing has been with the computer. So whenever a computer has to access a memory location, it doesn't go from the first to the last. In case of random access memory, it can go directly to a particular memory location and access data. Of course, the retrieval rate will be faster. The second method is sequential access, which is, I gave you an example of magnetic tapes. If storage location can be accessed only a certain predetermined sequence, the access method is known as serial or sequential access. So magnetic tapes are examples of sequential access. Magnetic tapes में जो information store रहेगी, ठीक है, वो sequential method में रहेगी. मतलब suppose you want to go to the 40th memory location or 50th memory location, you have to start from 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. So you, even though data is at 50th memory location, you directly cannot jump to that memory location. So you have to access one by one all the data until you reach the final destination, and only then you can access the data. Of course, what you can see is that the retrieval rate of the data will be much slower as compared to random access. And the third method is called as direct access. In this access, information is stored on tracks and each track has a separate read-write head. This features makes it a semi-random mode which is generally used in magnetic disk, that is hard disk में हम लोग यूज करेंगे. हार्ड डिस्क में होता क्या है कि एक प्लेटर्स बोलते हैं उसको, एक प्लेट जैसा रहता है, मेटल का प्लेट रहता है, थिक प्लेट, और उसको बोलते हैं प्लैटर, और उसके दोनों साइड में मैग्नेटिक कोटिंग रहती है, और मैग्नेटिक कोटिंग के अलावा उसके अलावा कोसेंट्रिक सर्कल्स रहते हैं विच इज कॉल्ड एज ट्रैक। ठीक है, अब क्या होगा कि दोनों साइड में डेटा स्टोर्ड है। ठीक है, अब आपको कहीं से भी डेटा एक्सेस करना है तो आप क्या करोगे, इंडिविजुअल हेड रखोगे वो डेटा को रीड करने के लिए। हर एक ट्रैक के लिए अगर आपने एक इंडिविजुअल हेड रख दिया तो आपको एक ट्रैक से दूसरे ट्रैक पे हेड ले जाने की जरूरत नहीं है। डायरेक्टली आप वो हेड को जो भी ट्रैक पे आपका डेटा है वो ट्रैक से आप वो डेटा एक्सेस कर सकते हैं वो पर्टिकुलर ट्रैक वो पर्टिकुलर हेड को यूज करके। सो दिस इज मच फास्टर एज कंपेयर टू रैंडम एक्सेस मेमोरी, लेकिन जो कॉस्ट है वो बहुत ज्यादा हो जाएगा। तो ये जो टाइप का मेमोरी रहेगा उसका मेमोरी कैपेसिटी बहुत कम रहेगा। Okay, so when this type of accessing is used, the memory capacity will be very small, and of course it will be very costly as compared to the other accessing mode. Now this brings to the end of the unit number 4, that is memory. We have tried to understood all the important points, all the peripherals which are related to computer, to understand the computer fundamental. Okay, so that is what we started with: classification of memory, block diagram of personal computer. There was one more important question as static RAM and dynamic RAM, types of RAM. Then we tried to understand the peripherals, input device, output device, and then concept of bus. Okay, concept of bus. So these were all the important points which we have covered for the computer fundamentals. And today we try to understand the memory organization, what are the different types of memory, what are the accessing method, what are the location, how they are classified depending upon the locations, what are the important key characteristics, and what are the implications of these key characteristics. So this comes to an end of unit number 4 and today's video. Thank you so much for listening carefully.